the coupon. And the coupon works, for example, that the potato or McDonald's. There's no physical coupon. It's just electrical coupon from the network. And McDonald's can understand their who is eating what kind of the food or demography of users. If people use the change or money, you cannot, or McDonald's cannot understand how to use the money. But we can find out such a demography. It is a very good marketing tool for us, for both Docomo and McDonald's. We have many such alliances in Japan. And you can see Toruka is one of our coupon services. Actually, we are entering, it is a kind of iMode service. iMode is a brand name of Docomo's internet service, but it's a very proprietary service. But we can go, now we are going to very open service, like Android phone or iPhone. We are not selling iPhone, but we are going to the Android application. I think that there are many, I'm very surprised that there are many application or content provider here that we are very open and we are very welcome to our market or to our network, such application content from the Israel or of US. Yeah. Please contact us about some application. Thank you.
Just to put that into context, last year, revenue for content at Docomo was $16 billion US. So any Israeli or local application developers find Midas-san afterwards. Yeah, Noam?
Hi, my name is Noam Zev. I'm with Qualcomm, almost local here, based in San Diego. Levi was very good at making clear that I only have 5 minutes. I'm not going to do a big promotion about Qualcomm or anything else, and he asked me to talk about something that I'm passionate about. So as a result, you'll see the first slide, which is from our legal department. It says everything I say here is, my opinion, and please do with it what you want. And at the end, I'll have one slide or two that basically says, hey, here's what Qualcomm is. But in between, I really will cut to the bone. And the thing I've been working on or looking at for the last about year and a half or two has been, whoa, no, we got the big presentation. I think it's the wrong one. Okay. So guess what? You get many more slides than you wanted. I sent in late last night a short presentation. This is a longer one. I'll skim through it briefly. The area, so this is Qualcomm, a Fortune 500 company, world's largest fabless ASIC manufacturer, lots of other wonderful properties. And so, but our heart and soul is phones, or enabling wireless communication. And it has to, over time, you've seen evolution from voice to messaging to entertainment to the mobile as becoming a computing platform. You've seen all these wonderful numbers, but this touches on some of the topics that have been brought up by this panel and others, which is the phone is a very personal device. It helps bridge the physical world and the digital world in many, many different applications, including smart infrastructure. In this case, it's green tech, healthcare, advertising, education, banking, as we just heard. And so Qualcomm, because of our cellular expertise, is in the middle of this. Now, this is a fascinating slide. What it shows you is that today there are over 1 billion 3G, third generation cellular subscribers. By 2014, the estimates are there are going to be 2.8 billion subscribers. Today, there are close to 5 billion people with cellular phones around the world. This is more than laptops. This is more than anything else. And what we're trying to do, and this is where my passion is, I'm working with the Qualcomm Health and Wellness Group, or it's called Health and Life Sciences Group. And we have two very interesting mottos. The first one is, what we're doing is we're using wireless connectivity to collapse time and space in healthcare. Now, if you think about this, two things matter in healthcare, or where technology can help. The first one is time. When an event happens, how long before you react? If you can get information earlier on, from the home, from the road, can you prepare the hospital? Can you prevent things from happening? That collapses time. And space, hey, you can reach out. You don't have to bring everybody to the hospital to do diagnostic services and whatnot. And so this came from our other, I love this motto, which says, what we're trying to do is we're trying to put every body on the net. We want to put IP addresses to organs in your body, if you can think about it that way. And so, as I mentioned, cell phones are very prevalent, and with that 5 billion, close to 5 billion cell phones, there are more people with cell phones than people who brush their teeth every day, okay? There are more people with cell phones than people who have running water. There are, and this is even more fascinating, there are more people with cell phones who have electricity. You know, people share cell phones, they use ways to charge them when they have electricity, but there are more people that have cell phone with them all the time than all of these essentials that we take for granted, and we're talking around the world. And so the mobile services are really becoming an essential part of our life, and I won't touch on this. Healthcare, you know, everybody in every country wants to improve the level of healthcare they get. And I'll skip these because, okay. And so what our vision is and what we're trying to enable, and obviously a lot of this is outside of our expertise. And, you know, Qualcomm enables wireless connectivity, computing platforms, communication, but we don't really have any expertise in sensors or in some of the, medical analytics that sit on the back end. But we want to enable the whole ecosystem to grow, and we believe that between wireless devices, biosensors, the combination of those, together with obviously smart computing and in the cloud, can transform healthcare. And to that effect, we're working very closely with many companies, and you can see just here a small sampling of the types of sensors, and I can show many more. And so this is again back to the point that even Sharona said, the phone is something that's with you. It's a very personal device. It also happens to be a combination of things. It has storage, it has display, it has a UI, it has many modalities of communication. And so we're constantly looking at ways to both increase those capabilities as well as find new ways to use that as part of delivery of, in this specific case, healthcare. And on the left, you see some of the very amazing technology that exists. We see healthcare as sensors that are in you, on you, and around you. It's a combination of all of these things together that are going to help improve healthcare and reduce the cost and hopefully help everybody live longer, better. So to that effect, what we've done is again, everybody's showing how small their technology is, which is really interesting. If you see that's a nickel, and we're currently building or enabling the chip, that module that you see there is a full-blown cell phone. It's a phone with an application and processor. It supports multiple air interface technologies, and the idea was, okay, how small can we make the package? Because one of our fortes is integration to allow fundamentally wearable mobile devices. No longer things that you have to hold in your hand. Can you get it so small where you can actually start wearing it? And this is a family of modules that we're developing. And I promise not to do too much Qualcomm advertising, so I'll stop with that. And I wanted to do one last thing since I got this deck, I got lucky, we're also recognizing that there is, I like to quote Jack Welch, who was the CEO of GE, and he said that it doesn't really matter how large your company is and how many brilliant people you have in your company. There will always be more brilliant people outside your company than inside your company. And even though we've been called many names and we have a lot of pride in what we do, we're recognizing that a tremendous amount of innovation exists outside of Qualcomm and that we can't do it all ourselves. And to that effect, we're trying to embrace and help other companies, and this initiative is actually happening through our Israeli office, and partnering with companies, helping them maybe give some seed money, integrate their technology into our products, and then use some of the more forward-looking, what we call test markets, which are Israel, Japan, Korea. These are countries that tend to embrace new technology faster, and use both our ability to reach out to those markets. Our chip division sells more than 1 million chips that enable cell phones a day. So the volume is just phenomenal, and so we're looking to having dialogues and hopefully opportunities to integrate innovation from outside and use our strength to help young companies as well as obviously Qualcomm. So I think that's all the slides I want to show today, and stay on time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the goal was to share a passion point of all of the...
Who's that? Is that me?
Good. Let's hear from Mark from the BlackBerry Partners Fund. 40% of smartphones in the United States are BlackBerries, but they look at the entire ecosystem of mobile. So Mark?
Thank you. Great to be here. So wanted to, in the 5 minutes that I've been allotted, wanted to do two things really, is just give you a quick overview of the BlackBerry Partners Fund. We're a venture capital group, and then I wanted to dive into one of the themes or areas that we're very interested in, and this is really driven through the eyes of one of our portfolio investments. So very quickly, not it. Am I doing this right? Do you have the BlackBerry Partners Fund slides? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I'll start talking about the fund, give you some background while they're trying to locate the slides, if they do. So BlackBerry Partners Fund, as I mentioned, we're a venture capital group. We were formed in August 08, so we're coming up in 2 years. Our current fund is $150 million. RIM is one of our key LPs, obviously, but we're not a corporate strategic group of RIM. We have a diversified limited partner investor base. Other players, Thomson Reuters, a few other strategic corporate investors, and then institutions. So the reason I always bring that up is we are very much a market-based venture firm. We're looking, our motives are very much in line with our portfolio companies, with the entrepreneurs, because our success is driven by their success from a return standpoint. The focus of the fund is very broadly, we're looking to back breakthrough innovation that's going to drive the mobile ecosystem forward. And that's a very broad term, but it is that broad. We like to look at application layer right down to network infrastructure, software, consumer enterprise. We span the gamut. In terms of a few other dynamics, like I said, our current fund's 150, primarily North America, some parts of Europe, and in Israel as well, and hence our purpose for being here. In fact, one of our companies, WorldMate, you just heard from, is primarily domiciled in Israel. We just announced last week, I was in Beijing for a key announcement we made where we launched BlackBerry Fund China, which is a $100 million fund in affiliation with a local venture firm there, China Broadband Capital, CBC Capital, to focus on investments in mainland China. So that just got announced and is in the process of being finalized. So I can go into the theme or just leave it wide open? Okay, so I'll talk quickly, and I'll do it very quickly around a theme that's of interest, and no slide to back it up. Apologize for that. And that's mobile data analytics. And what we mean by that, we have a very exciting investment in a company called Neurolytic, based in Montreal. And they have a solution that helps carriers, frankly, understand how people are consuming their data services and products. So what's interesting here, I don't know if there's any carriers and mobile service providers in the crowd, you know, we're seeing all these incredible numbers of growth, data growth and so on, but you know, mobile carriers have extremely unsophisticated tools to help them understand what people are doing on their smartphones, what they're consuming, and how. You would be, you know, you would be significantly, you'd be very surprised at that. So what this company, what was interesting about this company is they're driving business intelligence into the mobile carrier world. This is an industry that's been around for a long time. Carriers have enormous data assets across all their different infrastructure elements. They have a very difficult time extracting that low-level information and presenting it into a mode that allows them to make very simple tactical marketing decisions about how to optimize the services that they sell to all these users across smartphones. So that's fundamentally what it is, and I wish I had some slides to back it up because there's some very interesting statistics around that. One being, there was a study performed that was talking about the profitability of a mobile customer evolving from a feature phone into a smartphone. So everyone's aware of the hypergrowth of smartphones, but from a mobile carrier standpoint, they've done a lot of studies to show that the profitability matrix is actually consistent, even though the average revenue per user is dramatically higher. And part of the reason is their cost basis grows as well. So the device subsidy costs, the network evolution costs, the support costs associated with these next level of complexity of services and whatnot. So they need a next generation set of tools to manage that and ultimately to drive profitability to the bottom line. And just to put it into practice, give you sort of one test example, a case study that this company Neurolytic performed with a carrier in Asia-Pac, Singapore-based. They use their product, which can be deployed in a matter of days at negligible cost, which is very dramatically different than the BI world, where often you're looking at millions of dollars of system integration fees before you can even extract some of this data. So there's disruption in how it's being deployed, but it helped them very quickly understand what people are doing. So one case example was through the business intelligence layer they were able to extract, they can see with great granularity what people are doing on different device types, the different kind of content, and so on, and it helped them cater a very targeted SMS marketing campaign to promote a new suite of mobile TV services. And then what they ended up realizing was a 7x increase in engagement and activation numbers around that service. So that's just a very simple overview, but if you think about a carrier, they spend billions of dollars investing in next generation services, and a simple tool allows them to get that kind of multiplier of engagement, speaks volumes to the profitability. So I apologize for that. Oh, great, there we go. Terrific. Next time. Sorry.
Okay, so we have some time for questions. I know in the audience, I don't know, are we giving out food? All of a sudden, we had a rush of people to the room.
No, we're not going to give out food because we have a very special speaker after this. No one gets food until we learn a lot more about Israel.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? We have time for questions. First question.
About the phone with coupon and discount and paying, should I assume that it has a security code in case I lose my phone?
Maida-san,
Yes.
the question was regarding the mobile couponing, is there a code, a security code or some form of security interface?
Yes, there we have very strict security for the payment.
If the phone is lost,
Yeah,
then what
the
happens?
value can move from the or stop to the payment from the center. You have to contact to our security center that you stop the paying. And they can move, you can move the value from your stolen or lost cellular phone to another.
Okay, another question.
I read an article in the last week that Moore's Law obviously is not applying to battery life, and that smartphones may plateau in their improvement of processing power because there won't be enough batteries to power them. Just wonder if there's anything you guys can comment on. Where do you think it's heading over the next 3 to 5 years?
Battery power.
Well, Wei from Marvell, if you guys have a 9700 BlackBerry, you're in good shape because it has very long battery life and has our technology inside. It is, earlier I made a comment, one thing is about having features, all the performance, but it is absolutely important to have a design with a very low battery life. So the silicon technology goes into these mobile devices. Low power design is very, very key. And I think Marvell, in the last 15 years of our history, we are the leader in that technology, and we know how to develop with a long battery life.
Yeah, Noam, please.
Yeah, it's a very good point that as the features increase and the screen sizes increase, the battery drain does increase. And so, what we're trying to do both through internal investments as well as through our Qualcomm VC fund is either invest in battery technology companies as well as try to optimize things that are the battery hogs, like the display and the processors. So it's a race.
Historically, semiconductors have enabled a lot of the capability that's driven the technology market. This idea of battery kind of relates somewhat to the last question, but if you were to see how cloud computing sort of contrasts with the ability to extend battery life and sort of make the phones as thin as possible, essentially just a gateway to the cloud, and how do you guys see that affecting semiconductor development in the future?
So I think the mobility, earlier I made a comment about what you have on your phone, right, is you have a lot of data there, but it's like your briefcase or suitcase. When you travel, you leave the closet at home, so you don't carry everything. And this is where the connected device concept is going to be very, very key. Marvell today, for example, we develop technologies that address all these connected devices. You have, a mobile server at home and where you store a lot of content, and your TV, your TV screen in the future, or whatever TV becomes a smart viewing surface. So it is, you need to leverage the mobility and connected devices and then manage the efficiency.
Yeah, if I may offer a similar view, but what I think is happening with both wireless connectivity as well as higher levels of integration on silicon is it's allowing you to take devices that traditionally were monolithic, and you can start breaking them up into different components. So if you think of the flash card that we heard about earlier, right? And if it had a very low power wireless connection to something else, then all of a sudden you don't necessarily have, you have the choice, but you don't have to necessarily package the storage together with the device. So cloud computing can supplement processing, definitely storage and some connectivity, but in exchange for that, you have to have that ability to reach it at all times. So we see a constant improvement and this need to increase both the capabilities of the handset device, the connections, or whatever, the silicon that goes into the components of the system, as well as the cloud, and even more so the connectivity speeds.
Okay, last question.
This is for all the panelists, any or all. While I know there is no article or there's no research that has proven this, but I think we're all aware, and I know that myself and my family and people that I know are very fearful of the radioactivity. and that comes from cell phones and mobile phones and cell towers. I was just wondering what each company or people are doing to do research on this, and where it's going to.
Anything about radioactivity?
Yes, actually.
Right before lunch, it's a great theme.
Yeah. Just one comment that we do continuously to such an activity, the research and the development in our section, that affect to the bodies or something. Yeah.
Well, Sharona said this won't be a political discussion, so the truth is that you're being radiated all the time by very high-powered radio stations and whatnot, and so there are government agencies that are trying to do studies. There are various groups that are trying to do studies. What we try to do as a technology company is to give you more capabilities at lower radiated powers. Figure, okay, the less you get, the better off it is. However, you don't really want to let go of your phone either. So there's nothing conclusive right now, and people keep trying to look at it, and I think they will forever. So.
Good. So please join me in thanking our panel. Just to reiterate, Maeda-san is looking for partners. Qualcomm is very actively looking for technology partners. BlackBerry Partners Fund, clearly they need partners. And Marvell has an enormous presence in Israel, so meet these people sometime during the afternoon. Thanks so much.
With that, I want to mention that we are now embarking on the part that we're known for, which is our secret speaker. And I'd like to introduce Izhar Shai, who is going to take us on a ride on a slice of history of Israel, the most exciting times that we read about, but now we get to see in person, here only at the Israel Conference, where we bring technology and business together with a slice of the history of Israel right before lunch. So stay in your seats. You're on for something really magical now. Izhar, thank you. Izhar is the managing partner of Canaan Partners, one of Israel's and California's leading VC firms.
Thank you, Sharona. So, just to make sure nobody's confused, I'm not the special guest. I'm just honored to being the one who is going to introduce the special guest. So here's my introductory comment. I've been involved with the high-tech industry, both in Israel and in the US, for about 20 years now. Going through many roles. I worked as an engineer, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as a CEO of two successful venture-backed companies, and in the last more than 5 years as a venture capitalist. But along with that, I've always maintained I believe, a good level of involvement with giving back to the community, with working on all kinds of programs, mainly involved with education, which I believe is one of the basic, most important foundations when thinking about Israel going into the 21st century. Within that activity, for quite some time now, I've been working with a group of kids, ages 15 to 17, whose, well, the bad definition in Hebrew used to be Chavurat Rehov, which has a bad translation to English that probably translates to something like a street gang or street kids. But the better definition is these are kids that for all kinds of reasons do not share the same bright future as we all would hope for our own children. And what I do with these kids, along with many other volunteers, is get involved with all kinds of educational programs that help these kids develop themselves, help them to enroll into the Israeli army, so to become valuable citizens and to have a significant experience as young people who contribute to their country. And frankly, in most cases, this is about being there for them, as they do not have anybody else to go to, no parents around, or no supervising adults that they could trust and rely on. And while some of you may look at this as a significant commitment, I actually think this is a wonderful opportunity that has been given to me. And it has been given to me by a very special person who is our guest special speaker for today. He was a pilot and commander in the Israeli Air Force for many years. He commanded bases and squadrons of Israeli Air Force through battles and all kinds of other missions. After quitting the Israeli army after a long career, he became Consul General for Israel here in Los Angeles for a number of years. And when going back to Israel, he established a wonderful operation which deals with supporting, enhancing the experiences, and being there for all those thousands of kids that this organization deals with. To speak to us about his lifetime story, military career, and about his activity with those kids, I'm proud to host with us today Ran Ronen. Please welcome Ran.
In the cauldron of the Middle East, the Israeli Air Force has forged one of the most skilled fighting units in the history of aerial warfare. Often outnumbered, the Israelis have tallied more victories in the modern dogfight than any other air force. Now, with remarkable computer animation, you're in the cockpit with the best of the IAF. As Mirage 3 and F-15 fighters slug it out with combat-tested MiGs. Experience the battle, dissect the tactics, relive the dogfights of the Middle East.
Good afternoon. My name is Ran Ronen, and I am a third-generation Saber. Immediately after high school, I volunteered to the Israeli Air Force for 2 years and stayed for 27 years. Could not leave my friends, pilot the wars. Unfortunately, my generation, we were forced to fight 6 wars for the existence of the State of Israel. 56, 67, 73, 82, and the 2 attrition wars, the wars, after Six-Day War and Yom Kippur War. I had the privilege to command 3 squadrons, Mr. 4 Squadron, Mirage 3 Squadron, F-4 Phantom Squadron, and the flying school during the attrition war, and the largest base in Israel, Tel Nov, with 7 squadrons during the 73 war. Accumulated 400 operational missions all over the Middle East, shot down 7 enemy airplanes, Jordanians, Syrians, and Egyptians. And during this period, I was lucky. I was attending the Command and Staff College with the American Marines in Quantico, Virginia, and I've flown with them the airplanes that we didn't have at the time, the 102, 104, 106, landed aboard the Lexington carrier and the Saratoga. It's a long story, let's cut it. I have flown with the French Air Force for a year as a French pilot with a French ID card. And then later, I was sent by the Israeli government to get higher education in the United States. I have taken the AMP, the Advanced Management Program, with the B School in Harvard, and got a scholarship, made my master's degree there. And after another thing that I would like to say, when I lost many of my friends next to me, when an airplane gets hit, it's very dramatic. In 1 second, it becomes one big ball of fire. But the guy sitting there is not a number. You have briefed him 20 minutes ago in the squadron. You know his family, his wife, his kids. And when you lose many of them next to you with the feeling that you weren't better, you were only lucky, you become in one end very strong, very tough. On the other hand, very sensitive and emotional to what? To human being life, to friendship, to honesty, etc., etc., etc. I was asked to pick up 2 stories. There are so many stories, it's very difficult to pick up only 2. But at the 6-day war, I was a squadron commander, a Mirage squadron commander. In the first day, I led the attacks in the morning in Shas, that next to Cairo, then Abu Sweir in the middle of the Delt, then the Gardaka far away at the Egyptian desert, and late afternoon, Cairo International. Let's talk about the Gardaka because it was very unique. I'm talking about dogfights. So we were 4 Mirages that bombed the runways in Gardaka, and then we made a strafing passes by the 30mm cannon and destroyed all the airplanes parked there on the ground. At the end, then one of us had problems. I sent it home. We stay only 3. Then in the last strafing pass, we were attacked by 4 Egyptian MiGs. We were short in fuel, short in ammunition, and we started a dogfight. It was tight up and low-level dogfight, and we shut down all 4 of them. So 4 Mirages, far away at the desert, destroyed the airfield, and then shut down all 4 of them. It's impossible between these 2 stories not to say a word about the Israeli Air Force, the present Israeli Air Force. I'd like you to know that the Israeli Air Force is one of the best in the world. When an Israeli squadron commander sits with an American squadron commander, they not only talk to each other, they are communicating. There is a big difference. And we do have a common language. The Israeli Air Force is strong, very sophisticated, and we know that the solution is peace. But if this Air Force is forced to fight, it knows how to allocate, define, attack, and destroy every target all over the Middle East. We really hope that we won't be forced to do that, but is capable and can do whatever Israel needs for its survival. The second story, and the last one, is about the well-known and maybe the longest dogfight ever against the Jordanian Hunter. We were scrambled, and within a short time, we were 2 Mirages. Later, I was the leader. Later, another 2 Mirages joined us against 8 Jordanian Hunters. It was a low-level, tight dogfight, and we were surprised. Why? Because we were familiar with the Egyptian and the Syrian. We know them. They are different how they fight. But the Jordanians, first, the Hunter is better in this condition. In the lower level, it turns better. It does have 4 30mm cannon. We have only 2. But the most surprising was how the pilots, they really reacted very professionally. Why? Because the Jordanians were the only ones who got their aviation and flying education in the West, at the RAF, at the Royal Air Force in England. And they fought every time I got one of them 6 o'clock, and I won and almost shut him down. Somebody shot at me, and I was forced to break. Then after 6 minutes, I said, how can I land in the base with no result? Then I decided, I saw one, I said, this one I'm going to shut down. And we started a dogfight. It was unbelievable, tough. And then we looked to each other like that, and the stall speed of the hunter is lower. And I felt that if he won't do any mistake, within 2 to 3 seconds, I have to break. And then he broke. And he made his big mistake. And I went after him, and he dived very sharply. There was a canyon there going east towards Amman, and I never saw an aeroplane flying so low. It's about 20 to 30 feet. And I was behind him, 250 meters. I couldn't get 5 feet down to put my gun sight on him. And then when I flew after him, about 2.5 minutes till it was a very small, tiny hill at the bottom of the canyon. And he was forced to pull a little bit from 30 feet to 70 feet. And then I pushed the trigger, and only 21 bullets, and I shot him, and he fell apart, and I pulled, and then I look at him, and his airplane, after he was damaged, turned to the left 90 degrees, and he ejected. I pulled, and so he ejected and crashed to the wall of the canyon and was killed. Then I pulled and said, I have just shut down a wonderful pilot, and my feeling was that he really was deserved to eject successfully. Later, when I landed, I called the intelligence officer and said, I'd like to know who exactly I have just shut down. And he brought with all the information. It was the Jordanian squadron commander with the name and everything. And we were a little bit surprised that King Hussein, the father, called the base on his name. It was a tough dogfight, but the results were as I have just told you. Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure, and I am sure that we'll meet again together elsewhere in the world. Thank you so much. Rega.
So we are not letting you down because you have to complete the rest of your biography.
Yes. When I returned, later I was a Consul General of the State of Israel here in Los Angeles. It was a great time. I am familiar with Los Angeles. It was a great time. And when I came back and made a strategic decision to jump to the very cold water of the private enterprise, which are cooler than I thought, but still extremely interesting, I knew it will happen. I didn't even dream that it will happen so fast. I felt I would like to contribute something to the State of Israel, and discussed it with myself, 27 years with the defense, now 4 years with the foreign ministry, go now to the young generation, to education, to leadership, etc. Then I started with 12 kids from South Jaffa. After 4 years, when they finished their high school and all of them were recruited, I said, why 12? Why not 4,012? We can change the whole young generation. And I established this project called Tzala, which means the IDF for the youth. More than 5,000 kids went through us in the last 17 years. Right now we have 1,200 with 125 volunteers. Everything on volunteering basis. And the stories are unbelievable. Kids came from the street and now they are officers. They are, and many stories that we don't have time now, but we are very proud about this project. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ran Ronen. Project Tzahla does have a booth outside here, and the conversation continues over there. Ran has just told me that he's brought with him 12 or 15 books, 12 of his bestseller book about his career and mainly stories about the state of Israel. And those of you who are interested to hear more about Tzahla, maybe to help Tzahla as we move forward as a volunteer organization, Ran is going to be there and is willing to even give his personal autograph to those of you who are going to be interested to get involved. Thank you very much and bon appetit.
Thank you.